Welcome back to the quiet side of fear. You've just stepped into a place where the night runs slower and the shadows keep pace. I'm glad you made it here, not everyone does. Tonight we're lacing up for something deceptively ordinary. Jogging. A simple routine. The kind that clears your head until it doesn't. Until every step starts to sound like someone else's. These stories aren't about haunted houses or cursed objects. They're about the moments you realize you're not alone on that empty path, when the sound behind you doesn't fade with distance, but follows, closer and closer. Most people listen to stories like these, finish the video, and move on. But if you're here, right now, you already know this one's going to stay with you longer. Maybe just long enough to change the way you feel on your next night run. Before we begin, what time is it where you are? Are you watching this from home, lights off? Or maybe you're out there, earbuds in, keeping pace with the dark? Tell me in the comments. I always like to know who's still awake with me. Here are tonight's encounters. You might want to leave a light on. The first time I heard it, I thought it was the wind. It was 5:12 a.m., still dark enough that the streetlights along the trail were the only things keeping me from total blackness. I run that path almost every morning before work. A quiet 2-mile loop that cuts through the woods behind my neighborhood. Usually it's peaceful. Just the sound of my sneakers hitting gravel, my breath, and sometimes a distant owl. But that morning, something was off. The air felt thicker, colder, like the woods were holding their breath. I remember the exact second it happened. I had just passed the wooden footbridge over the creek when I heard it. A whisper, faint but clear. It wasn't just noise. It was a voice. Megan. I stopped mid-stride. My breath fogged in front of me, white against the dark. My headphones were still playing quietly. An old true crime podcast. But I yanked one out. I didn't move. I listened. Nothing. Just water trickling below and the hum of streetlights behind me. I laughed it off. Told myself it was the podcast or maybe some weird echo. But the thing is, the voice didn't sound like it came from my earbuds. It sounded close. Right behind me. I kept running. By the time I hit the halfway point, I'd convinced myself I imagined it. My adrenaline was up, my heart pounding, and that made everything feel creepier than it really was. I took a sip from my water bottle and turned around for the second lap. That's when I heard it again. Egg. Slow down. It was softer this time, breathy, almost playful. My legs nearly gave out. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting through the trees, bouncing off branches, empty trail stretching behind me. No one. Just darkness, and the faint smell of damp earth. I stood there for maybe a full minute, listening. I swear I could feel eyes on me. My scalp tingled and my stomach twisted in that animal way when you know you're being watched. I finally forced myself to jog back, faster this time. Every little sound made me flinch. Leaves rustling, water dripping, my own footsteps echoing too loud. I didn't stop until I hit the parking lot. When I reached my car, I noticed something strange. My back window was fogged up, like someone had been standing behind it breathing heavily. But I hadn't been gone long enough for that to happen naturally, and there was a single word written in the condensation. Run. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it. That whisper repeating my name. I kept telling myself it was just my brain playing tricks after the scare. The next morning, I checked the window again. The fog had dried, the word was gone. I considered skipping my run, but the logical part of me won. The trail was public, well-lit, safe. Probably just a creep playing a prank. Still, I brought my pepper spray this time. It was colder that morning, maybe 40 degrees, and I could see my breath the moment I stepped out. The sky was a bruised blue-gray, no sunrise yet. When I got to the trailhead, I saw something lying beside the bench near the entrance. A white earbud. Exactly like mine. I picked it up, hesitated, then stuffed it in my pocket. Probably dropped by someone else, I thought. I started jogging. For the first half mile, everything felt normal again. Birds chirped, branches cracked somewhere deeper in the trees, but nothing weird. I even started to relax a little. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Rhythmic, light, matching my pace. I slowed down. The footsteps slowed too. I stopped. Silence. When I turned around, the trail was empty. My light caught nothing but a swirl of mist. My chest tightened. That's when I heard the whisper again, closer this time, almost in my ear. Don't stop now. I screamed, spinning around so fast I nearly tripped. My flashlight flickered, my heart beating so hard I thought I'd throw up. Still no one. I ran. I didn't even look back. My shoes slipped on the damp path, branches slapped my arms, and my breath tore out in ragged bursts. When I got back to the car, my hands were shaking too much to unlock it. I sat there for a few minutes, just staring into the trees. The woods looked darker somehow, heavier, like the shadows had shifted. And then I saw it. Someone, or something, was standing halfway down the trail. Too far to see details, just a dark silhouette between the trees. Perfectly still, I blinked. It was gone. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not my coworkers, not my sister. They'd just laugh or tell me to stop running alone. I almost convinced myself it was just my imagination again. But that night, when I was taking a shower, I heard it, through the steam over the running water, a faint whisper right behind me. "You left your earbud?" I froze. My blood ran cold. When I pulled back the curtain, there was nothing, just my reflection in the fogged-up mirror. But written in the steam and finger smears across the glass was a single word: found. I didn't sleep that night either. Every creak of the house made me jump. Around 3 a.m., I thought I heard faint tapping against the window near my bed. When I finally worked up the courage to look, there was nothing there. Just my porch light flickering. I kept telling myself I was being ridiculous. Maybe I'd written that word on the mirror without realizing it. Maybe the footsteps were echoes. Maybe I'd been running too early, half asleep. But there was one thing I couldn't explain. That earbud I picked up at the trail. When I checked my pocket the next morning, it was gone. And in its place, tucked deep inside the pocket of my running jacket, was a small folded piece of paper. It just said, "You dropped this. See you tomorrow." I didn't go back the next day, or the day after that. Every time I even thought about running that trail again, I got this sick, twisting feeling in my stomach. Like my body already knew something my mind refused to accept. But I couldn't stop thinking about the note. "You dropped this. See you tomorrow." It wasn't just creepy. It was personal. Whoever or whatever had left it knew my name, my schedule, even what I wore. By the third day, I was done being scared. Or at least I told myself I was. Fear has this way of turning into anger when it sits too long. I needed to prove it was all in my head, so I went back. It was Sunday just before dawn. The air smelled like rain, damp and metallic. The woods looked heavier than usual, weighed down by fog that clung to the ground like smoke. I parked under the same light pole. It flickered twice when I got out of the car. I remember that. This time I brought my phone camera just in case. I told myself if anything weird happened, I'd record it, prove to myself it was nothing. When I stepped onto the trail, the sound of gravel under my shoes echoed louder than normal. The woods were too quiet. No birds, no insects. Just me and the faint hum of the creek in the distance. I started running. Slow at first. My breath fogged in front of me and the rhythm of my heartbeat felt painfully loud in my ears. Nothing. No whispers. No voices. No shadows. Just the soft slap of my shoes and the chill of morning air. After a few minutes, I even laughed out loud. I'd let a trick of sound and nerves get to me. I was halfway across the wooden bridge when I saw something ahead. A pale shape, small, maybe knee-high. My first thought was that it was trash, maybe a plastic bag someone dropped. But as I got closer, I saw what it really was. A single running shoe. A shoe, same brand, same model, same scuff mark on the toe, but I had both of mine on. My brain froze. The air felt thicker again. That same electric heaviness from before. I looked around, scanning the trees. My flashlight beam caught something for half a second, movement, then nothing. "Morning, Megan." The whisper came from the right side of the trail. I turned, flashlight shaking in my hand. The beam hit trees, roots fogged by, but no one. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer through the leaves. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice breaking. "I have pepper spray." The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then softly and almost amused. "Don't run." I did. I ran so hard my lungs burned. Branches clawed at my arms and my flashlight bounced wildly. I didn't stop until I burst out of the woods and into the parking lot, heart hammering so hard I thought it might stop. I looked back. The trail was empty, just fog and trees. But when I opened my car door, I froze again. There, sitting neatly on the passenger seat, was the matching shoe. The one from the bridge, and next to it, a small white earbud. I called the police that afternoon. I didn't tell them everything, just that someone was following me on the trail. They sent a deputy out to have a look. He was nice enough, older, polite, with that kind of forced calm cops use when they think you're just paranoid. He took a few notes, said they'd patrol the area more often, then told me to avoid running alone. I asked if anyone else had reported anything weird out there. He hesitated, then shrugged. We've had a few complaints. People hearing voices, feeling followed. Always early morning. But when we checked, nothing. That was somehow worse than hearing there was a suspect. I stopped running after that. Started doing workouts at home instead. But every night, around the same time I used to go running, I'd catch something out of the corner of my eye near the window. A shadow. A shape, just watching. Then one night I woke up to my phone buzzing. A text. Unknown number. You forgot to stretch today. I stared at it for a long time, my chest tight. Breath caught somewhere between disbelief and panic. Then another message came through. You're faster when you're scared. I blocked the number, turned off my phone, and didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, I had almost convinced myself it was just some cruel prank, maybe someone from the gym, maybe a coincidence. Anything was better than thinking something was actually following me. But when I went outside to get the mail, there was a note under my wiper blade. The woods miss you. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I told my sister everything about the whispers, the notes, the texts. She stared at me like I was losing it, then suggested setting up a camera or even hiring someone to come with me to the trail, just to prove it's all in your head. I didn't want to, but she wouldn't let it go. So the next morning we went together. She drove. We parked under that same flickering light. The woods looked calmer in daylight. Normal, almost inviting. I felt ridiculous for being so afraid. My sister even joked, "See, no ghosts, just squirrels and bad lighting." We walked the path together, talking the whole way. Every sound still made me flinch, but having her there helped. We crossed the bridge, reached the halfway point. Nothing. I started to relax again. Then she stopped. "Meg, did you hear that?" I froze. "Hear what?" She tilted her head. "Like whispering?" The blood drained from my face. We both stood still, listening. At first it was faint, like wind slipping between branches. Then clearer. A voice too slow. We both turned toward the trees. My sister's hand tightened on my arm. "Run, Megan." It was right next to us, she screamed. I grabbed her wrist and we bolted back toward the car, feet pounding the dirt path, branches whipping past. I didn't look back. Couldn't. When we reached the parking lot, I fumbled for the keys, threw the door open, and slammed it shut behind us. My sister was shaking, crying. She looked at me, her face pale. "Meg, did you see it?" "See what?" Her voice broke. Someone was running behind us. I stared out the back window. Nothing but the trail entrance, half swallowed by fog. Then the light above us flickered again, and for just a second, a single, stuttering flash, I saw a figure standing there, still, watching, right where the trail began. That night, I heard my sister's voice outside my bedroom window. At least I thought it was hers. "Meg, come back to the path." I looked out. Nothing. Just the dark yard and the faint outline of the woods beyond. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I haven't been back to the trail since that day with my sister. But somehow it feels like the trail came back with me. It started small. Whispers that only came when I was half asleep. So faint I couldn't tell if I was dreaming. Then little things began to move around the house. My keys in the wrong place. A glass tipped over on the counter. My phone lighting up with no notification. Every night I'd wake up between 5:10 and 5:15 a.m., the exact time I used to start running, and I'd hear it. That faint breathy voice from somewhere in the house. "You're late, Megan." I kept every light on. Slept with the TV playing old sitcom reruns just to drown out the silence. But it didn't help. The voice was underneath the noise, like it wasn't in my ears but in the walls. I tried recording it once. Set my phone on my nightstand and hit record before I fell asleep. When I played it back the next morning, it was mostly static. But around the 5-minute mark, you can hear me breathing. And then, clear as day, a whisper. Closer. Then the sound of something running. I deleted the recording immediately. My sister stopped checking on me after a while. She didn't want to talk about that morning, and honestly, neither did I. She said I needed a break, to leave town for a few days, maybe go stay with Mom. But the idea of being alone anywhere else made me sick. At least here I knew where the exits were. Still, by the end of that week, I was losing it. I kept thinking I saw movement and reflections. In my TV when it was off, in the glass of the microwave door, even in my phone screen when it went dark. Always just a blur, a shape behind me. One night I went into the kitchen for water and stopped dead. There were footprints on the tile. Bare feet, wet, leading from the back door down the hall toward my bedroom. The door was locked, still locked. I followed the prints, heart hammering, holding my phone flashlight low to the floor. They ended beside my bed, right where I sleep. I backed out of the room, shaking. That's when I heard it. Soft breathing coming from under the bed. Missed you. I screamed and ran out of the house barefoot, keys in hand. I didn't stop running until I was in my car. I drove until the sun came up, parked in a grocery store lot, and cried until I couldn't breathe. When I went back later that morning with my sister, the footprints were gone. The floor was spotless, but something had changed in the air. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. That night, I stayed at my sister's place. It was supposed to make me feel safer, but around 5 a.m., her dog started growling at the window, low, steady, teeth bared. She tried to calm him, but then we both heard it, tapping on the glass. Slow, deliberate, tap, tap, tap. I pulled back the curtain. At first, all I saw was fog from my own breath. But when I wiped it away, I swear I saw something move. Not a person exactly, more like a shape, distorted in the faint reflection, and then faintly right next to the glass. You brought me with you. I stumbled back, knocking over a lamp. My sister didn't hear the voice and just saw my face in the empty window. She wanted to call someone, police, maybe even a doctor. But I couldn't. How do you explain something like that? You can't file a report for being followed by a whisper. Over the next few days, it got worse. The whispering wasn't just at night anymore. I'd hear it faintly at work, in the hum of the copier under the buzz of fluorescent lights. Once in a meeting, I swear I heard my name whispered through the air vent. No one else reacted. At the grocery store, I heard someone behind me say, "Keep running." I turned so fast I dropped my basket, but there was no one there. Every time I heard it, it was closer, and it was learning. The voice didn't just whisper my name anymore. It said things only I knew. Words from old texts, phrases I used to say to my ex, even my mother's voice once saying, "Come back home." That's when I realized it wasn't mimicking people. It was remembering them. The breaking point came 3 nights ago. I woke up to the sound of running water, the shower. But when I stepped into the bathroom, it was off. The mirror was fogged though, like someone had just been there. In the condensation, written with a finger, were 3 words, "Time to finish." That same second, I heard footsteps behind me, running down the hall toward my bedroom. I bolted after the sound, but when I got there, the room was empty. My window was open, curtains fluttering. I rushed to close it, and that's when I saw it. In the yard below, just beyond the light from the porch, stood a figure, tall, still, watching. I couldn't see a face, just the faint outline of a head, shoulders and long hair hanging forward. The air around it shimmered slightly, like heat off asphalt. Then it started walking unslowly toward the edge of the woods, and I swear before it disappeared into the dark, I heard it whisper, "You know the way." I haven't left the house since. I keep the blinds shut, the doors locked, every light on, but I can feel it out there, waiting. Every morning at 5:12, the temperature in the house drops a few degrees. The air gets heavy, and I hear it again. The path misses you. It's not a request anymore. It's a command. Part of me thinks if I just go back, if I finish whatever started on that trail, it might finally stop. But another part knows I won't come back if I do. And yet, the whisper's getting louder. I told myself I wasn't going back. I swore it. But last night I woke up at 5:12 again, no alarm, no sound, and just the feeling that someone was standing right next to my bed. The air was freezing. I could see my breath drift upward. And I swear I heard a soft inhale, like someone breathing it in. Then from the corner of the dark room, the voice came again. "It's time." My phone screen lit up on its own. The flashlight blinked once, and there, written across the black wallpaper, was a new notification. No sender, no number, just 3 words. Come to me. That's when I knew it wouldn't stop. Not until I went back. The trail looked different in the dark. Empty parking lot, flickering light pole, trees like silhouettes of ribs closing in around the path, the same cold, wet smell, the same crunch of gravel. I stood there for a long time, staring down that narrow stretch of dirt, the wooden bridge just visible through the fog. The whisper was constant now, faint, layered like 100 voices speaking under each other, all saying the same thing. Welcome back. I started walking. My legs felt numb. Every breath came out like smoke. The woods were wrong. Too quiet again. That dead, suffocating silence that presses against your ears. Even the air felt heavier, almost syrup-thick. The flashlight in my hand started to flicker. I tapped it, and for a moment the beam caught movement ahead, a shadow sliding between trees. I kept walking. I don't know why. I think part of me just wanted it to be over, no matter how. The whispers grew clearer as I reached the bridge. Left behind. Left behind. I stopped in the middle of it. The wood creaked under my shoes. Beneath me, the creek gurgled softly, black and endless. That's when I saw her. At the end of the bridge. A woman, or at least something shaped like one. Tall, hair hanging wet over her face. Wearing what looked like a red running hoodie. My breath hitched. The air felt charged, buzzing like static. "Who are you?" I managed to say. She didn't move. Then she tilted her head, just slightly, and her voice came out in that same whisper I'd been hearing for weeks. "I'm you." My flashlight went out. For a moment, I couldn't see anything, just darkness and the sound of the creek below. Then the whisper came from everywhere, behind me, beside me, inside my ears. We ran together. "You left me there," I stumbled back. No, I didn't." Flashes hit me all at once, not memories exactly, but feelings. Running, tripping, water, pain, cold, a scream, my own voice, but distant, and then the bridge beneath me giving way. The whispers rose, overlapping, echoing. "You fell. You didn't get back up. You left yourself behind. Now come home." I dropped to my knees, hands over my ears. "Stop it, just stop." The cold was unbearable now, like frost crawling through my veins. Something touched my shoulder. A hand, wet, icy. When I looked up, she was kneeling beside me, face still hidden by hair, water dripping from her sleeves. Her voice was softer now. "Almost kind. You've been running ever since." She lifted her head, and I saw her face. It was mine, pale, lifeless, eyes clouded like still water. My stomach lurched. I stumbled back, shaking my head. No, I'm not." "Yes," she whispered. "You never left the trail." The world tilted. My breath caught, sharp, freezing, like inhaling ice. For a second, I could see both of us. Her on the bridge, me standing there. And behind her, a faint outline in the fog. My own car, flashing lights, police tape, people searching the creek, someone shouting my name. The sound faded. The air went still again. It's time to stop running. "Megan," she reached out a hand, and for the first time in weeks, the whisper stopped. I don't remember what happened after that. When I opened my eyes, the sun was rising through the trees. The woods looked normal again. Birds were chirping. The bridge was dry, no sign of her, no fog, no whispers, just quiet. I walked back to my car, half expecting it to vanish when I touched it. But it was there, solid, cold metal under my hand. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles hurt. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm. Empty but calm, until I got inside. Because on my kitchen counter, sitting neatly beside my keys, was my running shoe, the same one from the bridge, still wet, and next to it, written on a folded scrap of paper in shaky, damp handwriting, "You stopped running. Thank you. It's been 3 days. The whispers haven't come back. The house feels lighter somehow. I sleep through the night, but every morning, right around 5:12, I wake up on my own. Not from fear, just instinct. And somewhere outside, faint and distant, I swear I can hear the sound of footsteps on gravel. running. Not toward me. Not away, just running, keeping pace. Like something that finally found its rhythm again. The first time I saw the handprints, I thought someone had been in an accident. It was just past 9:30 p.m., cool air, streetlights flickering over the old highway that runs along the edge of town. I jog there almost every night. The stretch between mile marker 12 and 13 is my favorite. Long, empty, surrounded by open fields. You can see headlights from half a mile away, so I always felt safe. But that night, something felt wrong the moment I started. The sky was heavy. No stars, no moon. Just that dim orange haze from distant city lights. The air smelled like rain and something else. Metal, sharp, almost like blood. I remember the sound my shoes made against the asphalt, that soft, rhythmic slap that usually calmed me down. It didn't that night. Every echo felt like it was bouncing back too fast, like there were two sets of feet. I told myself it was nothing. Highway acoustics. The echo from the guardrail. When I reached mile marker 13, I slowed down to stretch. That's when I saw it, a smear of dark, wet handprints across the green metal post. 5 long fingers streaking downward like someone had pressed their hands there and slid them toward the ground. They looked fresh, still glossy in the light. I stared at them for a while, my breath fogging the air. Then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. There were no footprints, no tire marks, no sign of anyone else. Just those handprints, and they were on both sides of the sign. I kept running, trying not to think about it. Told myself it was oil or maybe a kid pulling a prank. But as I passed the next marker on 14, the hairs on my arm stood straight up, because for a split second, I thought I saw someone standing in the ditch across the road, a shape, hunched, motionless. My light hit them, and they were gone. I stopped, heart pounding. Hello? Nothing. Just the low hum of the power lines above. I don't know why, but I felt this pressure in my chest, that primal kind of fear, like when you're a kid and realize something's watching you from the dark. I turned and jogged back toward home, faster than before. When I passed marker 13 again, the handprints were dry, but now there was something else scratched into the paint. A word: run. The next morning, I drove past that same stretch on my way to work. The sign looked clean, freshly washed, almost too clean. No handprints, no scratches. I laughed at myself in the car. I'd clearly freaked out over nothing, but something about how new the paint looked made my skin crawl. That night, I went back out again. It was windier this time, cold enough that I could see my breath before I even started. The fields on either side of the highway were just open dark. No fences, no trees, nothing to block the view. I put my earbuds in and started jogging. Music loud, just enough to drown out the thoughts. At mile marker 12, I noticed a crow sitting on the sign staring at me. I passed it and glanced back. It was gone. By the time I reached 13, I was breathing hard, my pulse echoing in my ears. I slowed down to walk. The streetlight above the marker flickered once, twice, then went out completely. The only light left was the weak glow from my phone screen. I aimed it toward the post and froze. The handprints were back. This time, they were different. They weren't smears anymore. They looked placed, deliberate, and below them, written in that same dripping darkness, was a message. Still here. Something in me snapped. I backed up fast, nearly tripping on the asphalt. My pulse thundered in my throat. There was no traffic, no sound, just wind whistling across the fields. Then I heard it, faint at first, but clear enough to make me stop breathing. Footsteps behind me. Slow, steady, crunching against the gravel shoulder. I spun around, flashlight shaking in my hand. No one. The sound stopped. I turned back toward the mile marker, and that's when I noticed something new. Another set of handprints. Lower this time, closer to the ground, like someone was crouching there, waiting. I felt it before I saw it, that instinctive awareness. When you're not alone, the air behind me shifted, something whispered right next to my ear. You made it back. I bolted, didn't look behind me, didn't stop to catch my breath. I just ran, sprinted all the way home like a maniac. My legs burned. My lungs felt like they were on fire. When I finally slammed the door shut behind me, I realized I was crying. I didn't know why. It wasn't just fear. It felt familiar, like I'd heard that voice before. I told myself I was done with night runs. The next few days, I tried to ignore it. Went to work, forced myself to act normal. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw those handprints, glossy, black, dripping down the metal, and that voice, low, calm, right at my ear. You made it back. By Friday night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to go see it again, prove to myself that it wasn't real. When I pulled onto the old highway, my headlights caught something strange. Mile marker 13 was gone, at least the sign was. The post was still there, bent and cracked at the base like it had been hit. I slowed down, heart pounding. The shoulder was torn up, dirt and tire marks everywhere. Then my headlights swept over the ditch. And there, half hidden in the tall grass, was something white. A shoe. My shoe. The one I'd lost 6 months ago after I got clipped by that car out here. The accident. The memory hit me like ice. The blinding headlights. The slam of metal. My body hitting the pavement. Waking up in the hospital 2 days later. And just before everything went black. A voice in my ear. Don't stop running. I didn't tell anyone about finding the shoe. Not my friends, not my coworkers, not even my physical therapist who still asks if I've been running again. I just couldn't. Because the truth was too strange to say out loud, that I'd found the exact same running shoe I'd lost the night I almost died. It should have been impossible. The police told me someone must have picked it up after the crash. The highway crews had cleaned that stretch months ago. But there it was, dirty, damp, and perfectly recognizable. The weirdest part? The laces were tied neatly. That night I couldn't stop thinking about the accident. The memory was still blurry. A mix of flashing lights, the smell of burnt rubber, and a woman's voice. I used to think she was the driver who hit me, but now I wasn't so sure. I remember lying on the pavement, the world fading in and out, and hearing someone whisper right next to me, "Don't stop running." The paramedics said no one was there when they arrived, but the voice had been so close. Saturday night I went back. I don't even know what I was hoping for. Closure maybe. Answers. Or maybe I just wanted to feel that rush again, the one that comes right before fear turns into survival. The highway was silent. No wind, no cars, just me and the low buzz of power lines. The post where the sign used to be leaned slightly toward the ditch, jagged metal where it had snapped. I parked on the shoulder, left the engine running, headlights cutting through the fog. The ditch looked deeper than before, almost like the ground had shifted. Grass flattened in wide arcs, patches of mud black and slick, and in the middle of it all, the shoe was gone. I swear I hadn't moved it. I stood there, breathing shallow, waiting for something to happen. That's when I heard it. Footsteps, but not behind me this time. Below, coming from inside the ditch. Slow, wet, dragging sounds like someone walking barefoot through mud. I aimed my flashlight down, hand shaking so bad the beam wobbled. At first, nothing, just the curve of the ditch and dark grass. Then something shifted near the bottom. A hand. It gripped the mud, fingers slick and black, nails torn. Then another hand. I stumbled back, heart hammering. Someone or something was crawling out. "Hey," a shouted voice cracking. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" No answer. Just that awful squelching sound of movement, then a whisper. "Still here." I backed up toward the car, fumbling for my phone. The light flickered again, and in that instant I saw a face rise above the edge of the ditch. Mud-streaked, hollow eyes, lips barely moving. It looked like me. Same scar under the eye, same cut on the chin from the crash. And then, in that same hoarse, broken whisper, "You didn't finish." I dropped the phone. It hit the pavement with a sharp crack, screen splintering. By the time I picked it up, the ditch was empty again. No mud. No footprints. Just silence. I don't remember driving home. One moment I was standing there, and the next I was parked in my driveway, headlights still on, hands gripping the wheel so tight they hurt. When I got out, I noticed something that made my stomach twist. Mud. Thick, dark, smeared across the hood of my car, in the shape of two hands, one on each side, like someone had been leaning there, waiting. The next morning I checked the local news, half expecting to see something. Another accident, a hit and run, anything. But there was nothing. No reports. No witnesses. Just the same quiet town, pretending nothing ever happens here. But something did. Something I couldn't explain, so I went looking for answers. There's an old diner a few miles from that stretch of road. Millie's place. Locals, truckers, same 5 people every morning. The kind of spot where everyone knows everything. I asked the waitress if she remembered any accidents near mile marker 13. She froze mid-pour. "Why are you asking?" I told her I'd been hit there once, that I just wanted to know if anything else had happened since. She set the pot down, glanced around, then leaned in. "People say that stretch is cursed," she said quietly. "Always has been. Cars stall. Folks see lights where there shouldn't be any. My brother swears he saw someone running right down the center of the highway one night. But when he stopped, there was nobody there." She hesitated, then added, "You said you were hit there, right?" I nodded. "Then you probably shouldn't go back. Some say if you survive that road, it still wants something from you, like it didn't finish what it started." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Didn't finish, that's exactly what the thing in the ditch had said. You didn't finish. That night, I tried to sleep, but around 2 a.m., I woke to the faint sound of gravel crunching outside. I thought it was a car passing, but the sound didn't move. It stayed right outside my window. I slowly pulled back the curtain. The street was empty, except for a single mile marker sign propped against the curb, green, rusted with white numbers smeared across it. I went outside, barefoot, shaking. My breath came out in thick clouds. The sign leaned slightly like it had been ripped straight from the ground. The base was still wet with dirt, and on the metal surface and the handprints, fresh, still dripping. I dragged it into my garage, locked the door, and stared at it under the harsh fluorescent light. It was real. Cold metal, chipped paint, numbers scratched and faded. At the bottom in the corner, someone had carved something into the green. 4 letters. Dare. I blinked. Then it hit me, my name, Derek. The last letter had been scraped off. I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed of running. Always on that same dark stretch. Headlights blinding behind me, my own breath echoing too loud, and a voice beside me whispering, "1 more mile." When I woke up, I could still hear it. Not in the dream. In the house, it was coming from the garage. The whisper came from behind the garage door, soft at first, like someone talking through a thin wall. Then closer, clearer. 1 more mile, Derek. My body locked up. I could feel my pulse in my throat, every hair on my arm standing straight. The sound wasn't just noise, it carried warmth, breath, weight. Someone was in there. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a metal flashlight, and pressed my ear to the door. The voice stopped. The silence that followed was worse, thick, heavy, then came a single knock. Slow, deliberate. I turned the handle. The metal was cold, slick with condensation. When I lifted the door, the fluorescent light flickered on automatically. The mile marker was gone. In its place, muddy footprints trailed across the concrete, leading toward the far corner, behind the workbench. I followed them with the flashlight beam. My breath loud in my ears, they stopped at the wall, no exit, no door. Just a blank stretch of concrete. I stared at it for a few seconds before I saw the smear. A faint handprint pressed against the wall, fingers pointed down. I leaned closer. The concrete was damp, the air colder near the mark. That's when I heard it again. Not a whisper this time, but something deeper, vibrating through the floor. "You ran the wrong way." The light above me buzzed, dimmed, then blew out completely. I dropped the flashlight in panic. Its beam spun wildly across the floors, and for half a second I saw something standing where the wall should have been. A shadow. My height, my shape. But wrong. Its head tilted at the same strange angle as mine had been when I woke up in the hospital. And then just before the light went out, it smiled. When I came to, it was morning. The garage door was shut. The mile marker was back in its place against the wall, perfectly still. I told myself it had to be a dream. Stress, maybe. PTSD from the accident. But when I went to get in my car for work, I noticed mud on the driver's seat, 2 prints, parallel, like someone had been sitting there, watching the garage door. And on the passenger side window, written in the fog from inside, Keep running. I didn't go to work. I couldn't. Every sound outside made me flinch, car engines, footsteps, even the neighbor's dog. Everything felt like static, like the world had tilted slightly off balance. By noon, the whispering started again. This time it was everywhere. Inside the house, outside, echoing faintly in the pipes in the hum of the refrigerator. I tried blasting music, turning on the TV. Didn't matter. I could still hear it underneath. You stopped too soon. You didn't finish. Mile 13 waits. I finally broke. I grabbed my keys, got in the car, and drove back to the highway. It was just after sunset when I pulled over near where the old sign used to stand. The air smelled like rain again, metallic, thick. I parked in the same spot I had the night of the accident. My headlights cut through the mist, illuminating the ditch. The ground was soaked. A low fog rolled over the asphalt. I got out. My shoes sank slightly into the mud. The silence was almost perfect. Then, faint, rhythmic, steady, the sound of footsteps, not behind me, ahead, coming from the darkness beyond where the sign used to stand. I started walking. Every few steps. I'd glance back at my car, making sure it was still there. It looked smaller each time, like it was being swallowed by the fog. The footsteps stopped when I did. Started again when I moved. They were matching me. When I reached the bend in the road, the air got colder. My breath came out in sharp bursts. I could feel the same tension in my chest I'd felt that night, that sense of being pulled forward against my will. Then I saw it, a glint of metal on the ground. I bent down and brushed away the dirt. It was the missing letter. The K from my name, torn from the sign, and just above it, carved deep into the asphalt, were the words, "There never ends." Something moved in the fog ahead. A shape. Familiar. I froze. The figure stepped closer, barefoot, clothes hanging heavy with water. I couldn't see the face at first, just the reflection of my headlights on its skin. Then it raised its head. It was me again, same running jacket, same scar, but the eyes empty. "Who are you?" I whispered. The figure smiled faintly, head tilting to the side. "You left me there." I shook my head, stepping back. "No, I made it. I survived." It took another step forward. "Half of you did." Behind it, more shapes appeared in the fog. Faint outlines. Human, all barefoot, all staring. Their mouths moved, but only one voice spoke. "Run." I stumbled backward, tripping over the guardrail, falling hard onto the wet grass. My phone flew out of my pocket, flashlight spinning across the road. The figure moved faster now, the others following, their steps making no sound. I scrambled to my feet, lungs burning, every instinct screaming at me to get back to the car. When I looked up, the fog had shifted. I couldn't see the headlights anymore, just darkness and the faint green shimmer of the old sign, somehow standing again. Perfectly upright, glowing faintly under the mist. Mile marker, 13, only now. Beneath the number, new words were painted in black. "Start over." I don't remember how I got home. When I woke up, my clothes were soaked. My hands were scratched, my shoes caked in mud. I checked the clock. 3:07 a.m., my car was parked perfectly in the driveway. Keys still in the ignition. I went inside, locked every door, every window, turned on every light. That's when I saw it again. On my kitchen table, the mile marker sign. Leaning upright, perfectly balanced and carved into it this time with clean, sharp letters, "One more run." It's been 2 nights since then. I haven't slept. The sign won't stay still. By the 4th night, I stopped pretending I could ignore it. The sign wasn't just moving anymore. It was calling. It didn't speak in words this time. It pulsed, softly at first, like a heartbeat through metal. I could feel it in the floorboards, in the walls. The house breathed with it, and every pulse carried the same quiet message. "Come finish the run." I tried to leave. Packed a bag, grabbed my keys, headed straight for the door. But when I turned the handle, the wood felt warm. I pulled back fast. A dark smear was spreading across it. The shape of a hand. Then another. And another. They pressed through from the other side. I stumbled backward, dropping the keys. The handprints stayed for a few seconds before fading into the grain, like they were sinking inside. When I looked down, the mile marker was standing in the doorway again, leaning against the frame. The number glowed faintly in the dark. Beneath it, new words had appeared. Fresh, wet, jagged, finish what you started. I ran upstairs, slammed my bedroom door, pushed a dresser against it. My breathing sounded like sandpaper. Every nerve in my body screamed to move, but there was nowhere left to go. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. I hadn't turned anything on. I forced myself to look. Steam curled from the shower curtain. My reflection in the mirror was fogged, distorted, my face stretching unnaturally as the steam thickened. Then, faintly through the mirror's fog, I saw another reflection standing behind me. Not me, the other me. Soaked, mud-caked, grinning. It leaned close, its lips almost brushing my ear. "You're still out there." Derek, lying in the road, bleeding. It pressed a hand to my chest. My heart hammered against its palm. Is the part that's taking too long. I spun around. Nothing. Just dripping water and the whisper of steam. When I looked back at the mirror, there was a single muddy handprint where my reflection's heart would be. After that, I stopped fighting. It wasn't trying to haunt me. It was trying to remind me that the night I survived, something didn't end. Something got left behind on that road. And maybe, whatever crawled out of that ditch wasn't the same me that went in. I needed to go back. The drive to the highway was almost peaceful. Empty streets, quiet sky. By the time I reached the stretch near marker 13, the fog was already waiting, thick silver, moving like a tide. I pulled over, left the engine running, and stepped out barefoot. The asphalt was cold and slick under my feet. The ditch was darker than I remembered. The air felt alive. I walked toward the spot where I'd found my shoe. The ground dipped slightly there, forming a shallow pit filled with black water, and in that reflection I saw both of me. One above. One below, the one in the water smiled first. "There you are." The surface rippled. My chest burned, heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of the water. I reached down. My fingertips touched the reflection, and it felt solid. Warm. Then it pulled. I gasped, the world flipping. Water rushed over me, cold and endless. I opened my mouth to scream, but the sound came out as static. Shapes moved in the dark. All those shadowed runners I'd seen before. Their faces blurred, their chests marked with the same muddy prints. They ran in circles. Forever. The figure, my reflection, turned back once. Grinning, "Now you'll never stop." I felt my lungs filling, the pressure building, and then I woke up on the road. Bright light. Blinding white. Voices shouting, hands on me, rough and urgent. Male, early 30s, still breathing. Sirens. The smell of gasoline and wet pavement. Someone leaned over me. A paramedic. "Sir, can you hear me?" I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't move. My vision blurred. Behind the paramedic, through the fog of emergency lights, I saw the road sign standing upright again. Mile marker 13. The green paint gleamed wetly, and for just a moment, I could have sworn the numbers changed, twisting, reforming. Tom Boudin, that was 2 weeks ago. They tell me I was lucky. The doctors say I was in a coma for days, my brain trying to rebuild from trauma. They said the memories I have and the voices, the shadows, the other me, are just fragments of shock. But I know what I saw. I know I wasn't alone out there. And I know this because last night, when I got home from the hospital, there was something waiting on my porch. A highway mile marker. Number 13, and scrawled across it, in my own handwriting, "Keep running." That's what I've been doing ever since. Every night, when the house starts to hum and the lights flicker, I go outside and run the loop around my neighborhood. The same rhythm, the same breath, mile after mile. I can't stop. Because whenever I do, I hear him. The wet footsteps behind me. The whisper cutting through the dark. "Don't stop now, Derek. You're almost home." The first time I saw him, I thought he was just training weird. It was around 8:45 p.m., that in-between time when the streetlights start humming but the sky still holds a trace of blue. I was doing my usual 3-mile loop around the park, headphones in, light jacket, same road I've run for years. Halfway through, near the bend by the old baseball field, I saw movement in my peripheral vision. Someone coming toward me on the opposite sidewalk. At first, nothing strange about that. But when I looked closer, I realized the guy wasn't facing forward. He was jogging backwards, full stride. Smooth, controlled, like he'd practiced it 1,000 times. I actually laughed under my breath. Some fitness trend, maybe. People do all kinds of weird stuff these days. But then I noticed he wasn't wearing earbuds, or a headlamp, or even a reflective vest. Just a plain gray hoodie, dark sweatpants, and white shoes. And even though he was running backward, his head stayed perfectly straight, chin level, eyes fixed dead ahead, like he already knew exactly where every crack and corner of the path would be. We passed each other without a word. For a second, I considered turning around to watch, but something in my gut told me not to. The sound of his shoes faded behind me, steady, even, almost synchronized with my own steps. By the time I reached the far end of the loop, I convinced myself it was nothing. Just a guy doing something odd, but when I came around again 20 minutes later, he was still there. Same hoodie, same backward stride, same blank steady posture. Only now, he was closer to me, maybe 30 feet away, jogging the opposite direction on my side of the path. I slowed down. Pretending to stretch, he didn't slow at all. He passed by so close that our shoulders nearly brushed, and that's when I noticed something that made the air freeze in my lungs. He wasn't sweating, not even a little. Went home that night trying to shake it off, but the image stuck with me. The backward stride, the perfect posture, the way his eyes never flicked to me once. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that steady backward movement, his face gliding past mine in silence. The next evening, I told myself I'd take a different route, the neighborhood trail behind the school, and shorter, better lit, no weird joggers. But halfway through, I swear I heard footsteps behind me again. Same rhythm, same distance. I turned around fast, nothing there. The path was empty, stretching straight for half a mile. When I turned back, there was movement up ahead, near the playground. A figure in a gray hoodie, running backward. This time I stopped dead. He was facing me as he ran, but his eyes were tilted slightly upward, like he wasn't looking at me directly, like he was watching something above me. The motion sensor light near the swing set clicked on, flooding the area in white glow, and for just 1 second, I could see his face clearly. His mouth was open, not wide, just slightly parted as if mid-breath, but the skin around his lips looked split, like he'd been smiling too long. I took a step back, my throat tightening. That's when he stopped running and started walking toward me, still backward. I froze. Every instinct screamed to turn and run, but I couldn't move. He didn't make a sound, no breathing, no footsteps, just that eerie glide of motion. When he was about 15 feet away, the light above us flickered once. In that brief darkness, I heard his shoes turn. Now he was facing me. The light snapped back on, and he was gone. The path ahead was empty, but the air, it wasn't still. It felt charged, like the second before lightning hits. I looked down and saw something on the asphalt, a wet footprint, only one, pointing the wrong way, back toward my house. I didn't run the next day, couldn't. Every time I thought about putting on my shoes, I saw that one footprint, wet, wrong, facing my house. I told myself I was being paranoid. People act strange all the time. Maybe he lived near me. Maybe the direction of the footprint was a coincidence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't, because when I left for work that morning, I noticed something else on my front step, just under the welcome mat, a single damp patch in the same shape, heel to toe, pointing inward. By the third night, I decided I couldn't hide in my own house forever. I needed to prove it was in my head. I waited until sunset. Same jacket, same running shoes. No music this time. Just silence and the steady rhythm of my breath. I took the trail behind the school again, the same path where I'd seen him last. The air was thick and still. No wind, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel too loud. Half a mile in, I heard it again, the rhythm of steps. Only this time, they weren't behind me. They were beside me, like someone running in sync, just beyond the line of trees. I kept my eyes straight ahead, forcing myself to keep pace. My hands trembled, but I didn't stop. Then the rhythm faltered, 1 step, 2 steps, silence. I turned my head slowly, scanning the trees. That's when I saw the reflection, not a person, a shadow, caught in the reflection of a metal sign. It moved backward, perfectly mirroring my stride, even though the trees were still. My stomach turned. I stepped off the path and ran full speed toward the road. When I got home, I locked every door, every window, even the attic hatch. I sat on the couch with every light on and just listened. Around midnight, I started to calm down. Nothing had happened. Maybe I'd imagined it all then. A noise, a faint thump from outside, then another. I moved to the window, careful not to make a sound. The motion light on the porch flicked on, and there he was, standing perfectly still on the sidewalk, gray hoodie, white shoes, head tilted slightly downward, like he was staring at his feet. He lifted one leg slowly backward and placed his foot behind him, then another. He was jogging in place, in reverse. I should have called the police, but something about the way he moved froze me. It wasn't normal motion. It was too smooth. Like a recording playing backward, I whispered to myself, "You're dreaming." "Wake up." He stopped. Then, without looking up, he smiled. Even from that distance, I saw it. That awful stretched grin, the skin splitting faintly near his cheeks, and in the next blink, the motion light went out. When it came back on, he was gone, but my reflection in the window was smiling and I wasn't. The next morning, I barely made it to work. My co-workers noticed. I couldn't focus, couldn't hold a conversation. By lunch, I decided to check something. I pulled up the neighborhood community page on Facebook, scrolled through the posts, and froze. Someone had posted, "Does anyone know the guy who runs backward around the park?" My kids saw him near the elementary school last night, said he smiled at them the whole time. The comments were full of theories. People joked about viral challenges, fitness experiments, even local weirdos. But one comment stood out. He's been around for years. My brother saw him back in 2008. Said he followed him home too. Be careful. Don't let him get behind you. That night I stayed inside again. I closed the curtains, left the TV on for noise. But even with the volume up, I could hear the faintest rhythm outside. Soft, even footsteps, and a sound like someone breathing through a smile. I went to the front window, just a crack in the curtain, and peered out. The street was empty, but the motion light flicked on anyway. For a split second, I thought I saw something move near the mailbox. Then nothing, except a piece of paper tucked under the flag of my mailbox. I opened the door and crept out slowly, heart hammering. The note was small, folded twice. I unfolded it under the porch light. 5 words, written in shaky black marker. "You're facing the wrong way." That's when I realized something. Every time I'd seen him, every time I'd turned, he'd vanished the moment I looked forward again, like he existed only in reverse. The thought hit me so hard I almost laughed. It sounded insane, but the longer I stood there, the colder the air felt. And the more I noticed how still everything was. No cars, no wind, no insects, like the world was holding its breath. And then I heard the footsteps again, this time closer, slow, deliberate, coming from directly behind me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor of my living room until the sun came up, clutching that note like it might change if I blinked. "You're facing the wrong way." The words looped through my head until they stopped sounding like English. When daylight finally broke, I tried to convince myself it was over. People don't just disappear into thin air. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone was messing with me. But when I opened the front door, the street was different. Everything looked the same. Same trees, same cracked sidewalk. But reversed. The dent in my mailbox was on the other side. My neighbor's blue car, which always faced west, was now pointing east. Even the house numbers across the street read backward. My stomach twisted. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, stepped back inside, and then everything snapped normal again, just like that. I remember whispering to myself, "You're losing it." Then from upstairs, I heard footsteps, backward. The sound moved slow and deliberate from my bedroom to the hallway. Floorboards creaking in reverse rhythm, toe to heel, toe to heel. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer and crept up, each step tighter than the last. The noise stopped just as I reached the landing. My bedroom door was open. Inside, sunlight spilled across the floor, and I saw my closet door gently swinging. I froze. The flashlight beam trembled across the room. I nudged the closet open with the edge of the light. Nothing. except the faint smell of sweat and cold air. Then I looked down. My running shoes sat on the carpet, soles smeared with fresh dirt. The laces were tied backward. By that evening, I'd had enough. I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating. The backward jogger wasn't just a stranger anymore. He was inside whatever was happening to me, so I decided to fight it the only way I knew how. If he wanted me to turn around, I wouldn't. If he wanted to chase me, I'd go first. I laced up my shoes, grabbed a small GoPro I sometimes used for trail runs, and told myself I was going to catch him on camera. One more night. One more run. The streets were empty when I started. The air was heavy and humid, the kind that sticks to your throat. Every motion light along the block flickered once as I passed like a warning. When I hit the main trail, I turned on the GoPro. The faint red light blinked steady. I told myself, forward only. Don't look back. Half a mile in, nothing. Then I heard it. Footsteps behind me, perfectly matched to mine. I picked up the pace. The sound did too. My heart thundered in my chest. I didn't dare turn around. Not this time, I whispered. You want me to face you? You come here. The rhythm behind me stopped. Then, after a pause, I heard the sound change. Soft and wrong. The footsteps started again, but now they were coming from ahead. The trail curved left, opening to the long stretch by the empty baseball field, the same place I'd seen him the first night. The air thickened. My breath came out white even though it wasn't cold. That's when I saw him, standing dead center on the path. Gray hoodie, white shoes, facing me. Only this time his head was tilted straight back, chin pointed to the sky, neck stretched so far I could see the cords under his skin. He wasn't running. He was waiting. I slowed, flashlight beam shaking across the asphalt. Who are you? I called out. No response. Just that stretched posture, that eerie tilt. The GoPro on my chest blinked red, recording. I took another step. Why are you following me? He moved, not toward me, away, backward. Each step slow, perfect. The soles of his shoes barely touching the ground. I followed without realizing it, matching his pace. Then I noticed the trees on either side of the trail, their branches bending the wrong direction, leaves twisting like film rewinding, every sound around me, crickets, wind. My breath played in reverse. The world itself was going backward, and he was leading me into it. I stopped. No, I'm done. The backward jogger halted too. For the first time, his head lowered, and then, in a voice like air escaping from lungs, he said, You already turned around. I froze. My flashlight flickered once, twice, and then died. Darkness swallowed the path. When it came back, he was inches from me. His face was my face, same scar under the chin. Same stubble. Same eyes, except his were glossy, wet, and looking past me over my shoulder. I turned and saw myself standing there, mouth open, running backward into the dark. The camera caught everything, or at least, that's what I thought. When I watched the footage later, it showed me jogging alone down the trail, breathing hard, talking to nobody, until the last few seconds. The frame shook violently, and in the corner, barely visible in the reflection of a sign, was a gray figure jogging backward, behind me, right before the video cut to static. I haven't gone running since, but sometimes, when I walk past the window at night, I catch my reflection moving a half-second late. Not much. Just enough to notice, and sometimes, not always, I see a shape behind me in the glass. Gray hoodie, white shoes, moving in reverse. I tried to burn the footage, dragged the memory card out of the GoPro, dropped it in the sink, poured lighter fluid, and struck a match. The flame flickered weakly, guttered once, then went out, like it didn't want to burn. I tried again. Same thing. When I finally gave up and looked down, the card was gone, just gone. After that night, everything around me started to reverse in small, almost unnoticeable ways. My microwave clock would count backward for a few seconds. Music on the radio would glitch, the lyrics flipping in on themselves. Sometimes my reflection smiled before I did. The worst part wasn't what I saw. It was what I felt. Like the world was quietly pivoting, inch by inch, to face the wrong way, and I was the only one who knew. 3 days later, I got an email from the local running club. Subject line, Upcoming Charity 5K, route map attached. I almost deleted it, until I saw the map. The route, was my loop, my park. The exact trail, and there, circled in red near the bottom, was a small handwritten note. Mile marker 0. Start end, backward. It wasn't part of the official layout. The text was scrawled, almost trembling, but when I zoomed in, I saw something that made my skin crawl. At the bottom corner of the image, nearly transparent, was a faint reflection. A person mid-step, running backward. The metadata said the image had been uploaded from my address. That night I made the mistake of trying to run again. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't stand the waiting anymore. If he wanted me, he could have me. I just wanted to face it. I left my house at midnight. The moon hung low, dull orange like a dying bulb. The streetlights hummed faintly, flickering in sequence as I passed, one by one, like someone ahead of me was tripping them on purpose. The air smelled like iron and wet asphalt. The closer I got to the park, the heavier it felt, like gravity thickened. I told myself over and over, "You're in control. You're in control." Then I turned the corner and froze. The entire trail was lined with shoes, pairs of running shoes, dozens of them, all facing the wrong direction. Heels toward the street, toes pointed into the dark woods. Every pair had mud on the soles, and in the center of the path stood one empty hoodie, gray and folded neatly. Mine. Something shifted behind me. Soft, rhythmic footsteps. I didn't turn this time. I just listened. One step, another, then another, perfectly in sync with my breathing. When I exhaled, the sound paused. When I inhaled, it started again. He was matching my breath. I closed my eyes and whispered, "What do you want?" No answer, only the sound of steps drawing closer, heel to toe, in reverse. The air around me went cold, freezing, sharp enough to sting my lungs. Then, faintly, a voice. "You turned the wrong way." I spun around. The park was empty. No figure, no movement, just rows of shoes, their laces twitching like they were alive. And then, one by one, they started sliding backward across the pavement. A low scraping sound filled the night. I staggered back, tripped and fell, my hand landing on something wet. It was the same note as before, but the ink had bled from the moisture. New words had appeared beneath the first. "You're facing the wrong way. Now we run." I don't remember running home, just flashes. The sound of footsteps doubling. The streetlights flickering out as I passed. The feeling that something was always a few inches behind me. When I finally burst through my front door, I slammed it shut and locked it. But in the reflection of the window, I could still see movement outside, a faint shape, pacing slowly backward along the sidewalk. Every time I blinked, it was closer, until it wasn't outside anymore, until it was standing behind me in the glass. The police came after the neighbors called, said they'd heard shouting, someone running barefoot through the street. They found my front door locked from the inside. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, just my phone on the floor, still recording. The last few seconds of audio were nothing but breathing and static, then a man's voice whispering backward. When played in reverse, the words were clear. "I'm right behind you. It's been 6 weeks since then." I moved. New apartment, new city. I even started running again, short loops in daylight, never at night. It helps me feel normal. But yesterday morning, I passed a store window downtown, and for a second, I saw myself in the reflection, not running forward, but backward, step for step, perfectly in sync. And when I stopped, the reflection didn't. It just kept running, smiling,